We are back in the revitalized Geodome. I am honored to have next to me Sarah and JC from Movember. Um, there we go. Come on, give it up. Let's go. So Movember has a huge impact around the world, but it's you've been at this for a while, JC. Tell me the story for people who don't know. How did Movember come about?
It was a couple of, basically four of us, four founders of Movember, and we came together in 2003 in a pub with 30 mates, and we decided it was a really good idea to bring back the moustache because it had kind of vanished off the face of the earth, and we thought there was nothing more manlier than growing a moustache.
Yep.
And it worked so well back then because people were actually offended at your moustache. Today it's kind of changed, but you'd literally walk down the street and people would stop you and ask you why you're growing a moustache and how offensive that was. And we thought, why not just tackle it with men's health? Because, you know, when we looked around, there was a lot to do with women. Women were doing such a good job of their health. There was kids' hospitals, there was women's hospitals, there was no man's hospital. It's like, what's going on with that? And why aren't men looking after themselves? And then when we started to look into men's health, we worked out that on average, men die 6 years less than women because they just don't present themselves early enough for their health or understand their health. So Movember was born. The catalyst was the moustache. We've been rocking it out for 13 years, and it's always been part of our brand and always will be. But you know, the men's health cycle now for us is about the whole man and getting that man to look after himself and, you know, check in with his mates across the other topics that now we look after.
And so give me some of the numbers are astounding. How much you've raised, some of the diseases. Just share some.
Yeah, I mean, the most important thing for us is the awareness that we get. And, you know, during the month of Movember, we create 1.7 billion conversations in 4 weeks about men's health.
1.7 billion.
Billion conversations, which is incredible, you know. And we've raised over 800 million. So we're the world's largest men's health organization at the moment, which is brilliant. But we're across 21 different countries, and
all the bugs love you.
Eaten by mosquitoes. The bugs do love me. It's the Aussie blood. Yeah, and for me that's incredible. We've got, you know, over, when you look at our population of people since we've started, you know, there's millions, tens of millions of people around the world who get involved with what we do in our causes. But the most important stuff for us, and Dr. Simonson, who we spend a lot of time and money with prostate cancer in the US, you know, 307,000 men die of prostate cancer a year, and we can stop that just by education and knowledge. And, you know, since we've started and had a really interesting conversation with him this year, and we've advanced prostate cancer by 50 years in just getting guys to stand up and start talking about it. And he estimates we've saved, since we've started, around 120,000 lives just in America alone, which is just phenomenal, right? For, you know, a couple of Aussie mongrels in a pub growing some moustaches and then turning it into a global movement. And it kind of is, right? It's a movement. It's not, we were never really a foundation. We're a bunch of lads who wanted to make change in the world, and that's kind of what we set out to do. And we got kind of forced into starting a foundation and starting what we had, you know, and what we have today, which we're extremely proud of.
And now what's interesting to me too is, you know, not only the impact, but this current shift, which is the mental health. Can you share a little bit about why the shift to mental health and what happens to a lot of men once they hit 40?
Yeah, I mean, none of us were actually, when we started this journey, we took on prostate cancer because it was the biggest killer in men. And we knew just through action and conversation and getting guys detected early, we would change the game in that disease. So we really tackled that because we knew, and we could see change in that. With suicide, you know, we had been affected by that in our lives through guys and friends, and one man takes his life every minute in the world. So since we've been here for these 5 minutes already, 5 guys have taken their life, and that's just inherently wrong. And 77% of suicides globally are men. So we want to change the dial.
77%. So men, suicide. 3 out of 4 suicides are men. Essentially.
And men are taking their lives. And guys have this great friend set in their 20s, right? They get to hang out with their mates in their 20s. Then they start careers, they start long-term relationships, they buy houses, they start businesses like amazing guys in this room and the last couple of days we've seen. And then when something epically goes wrong in that, and it could even be the birth of a child, they hit their 40s, they don't have that friend set. They've lost touch with it. So they have no one to check in with. So we're trying to have this whole, which was like today, the shoulder-to-shoulder conversation, we call it. So we want to go where men are to have that conversation, because men won't talk face-to-face. Women do an incredible job at that. So what we do, and what Movember does very well, is we go where men are. We get them to have that conversation, whether it's watching sport, doing things. Guys like to do things and tinker around. So we do a lot of stuff with that. Know nothing about, they kick things around and have that conversation. So for us, when guys are having that, they feel in that moment, if they can have that conversation, it changes the world.
And Sarah, you've got a big job. Your job is changing men's behavior within Movember. How's that going right here first?
It's more of a macro than a micro focus. I always joke that, my job is the global kind of lead on behaviour change at Movember and men. And I tried really hard with this guy for a long time, been married to him for a long time, and he's a good bastion of men's health. But it's a big job. It's something that we take really seriously. That behaviour change is what will ultimately drive us out of business, which is what we hope to do in the long term.
So you have a really powerful story about someone was going through a tough time, a guy, higher profile guy, we're not going to say who, going through something tough. And it really, to me, symbolizes how men communicate and don't communicate. Can you share that?
Yeah, we're privileged enough to do lots of different things, right? So I self-indulgently came out with a cookbook, and we focus that around men's health. So I get to forage and chef and do all that sort of stuff. And then music's a massive passion of mine. So before David Bowie passed, he actually gave us changes to shoot a song.
Wow.
And Flea gave up his studio in LA. And then we had a whole bunch of rock star mates who just brought people together. And it was an incredible entourage of people who sung changes, because our taglines changed the face of men's health. And they came in, and one of the guys sitting there, really good guy, Bob Forrest. I'm not sure if you know Bob, but Bob has an incredible documentary about Bob and the Monster. And one of the taglines is, "What happens to a rock star, if he doesn't die of heroin?" Because
or die of bugs in this
all
tent
bugs,
right now.
like me. And comes back, he became a therapist, right? So he's got a lot of rehab clinics and go. And he was going through a heavy breakup at the time, and he actually had floor seats to the Knicks. He tells this story really well. And he was sitting with another very famous rock star friend, and they knew Bob quite well, and everyone knew Bob quite well in the industry. If you're in that industry, Bob's like a god of that industry back in the day. And he just turned to Bob during that game and just said, "Look, Bob, don't let this destroy you. We're all here. We've got your back." And that was it. And Bob said that changed everything for him. He just knew his mates were there for him, and his mates could have that conversation. And I'm privileged enough to travel around the world and do this, and talk to people now and have these conversations. And once we start these conversations and we open up and we start to do it, people start to overshare, which is great. But it takes one conversation and one person to be direct with their mates. And you should just check in with your mates. If you check in with your mates and let them know it's okay, then that starts, a really good, heavy conversation for us that gets people going.
Sure. And what have you learned, Sarah, about the different ways we talk about how men communicate versus women communicate when something's wrong?
Yeah, and obviously a lot of this is generalization
Sure.
when we talk about men, but men hate face-to-face conversation. They don't talk the way women do across a table. Men talk shoulder to shoulder while they're watching a game or sitting around a pint while they're doing something. So we invest a lot in understanding action-orientated sort of behavior. We also know that men don't respond the same to women around language. So a lot of the healthcare systems, particularly in the health industry, is built with an overwhelmingly female perspective and female language and female approaches. So a big piece that we're looking at is to put a male lens on that, because ultimately we're not going to get men to change their behavior by asking them to be more like women. That's not going to happen. So we know women are good at looking after themselves in general. We know their health-seeking behaviour is good. And we know they look after each other and they have good friend social connection. What we need to do is put a male lens on things and understand what is it that will make a man change his behaviour rather than ask him to become a bit more like a woman.
So for people out there who are watching, the men in their life, maybe he's going through a tough time, whether it's a guy talking to another guy, or a lot of women at our event, a lot of women watching, what should they do? How should they communicate? How should they reach out?
Yeah, it's actually the direct approach. It's having that, if you've actually got someone who you think is on the edge and you think they might be up for taking their own life, the best thing you can actually do is ask them. Yep. It's like, look, dude, are you thinking about taking your own life? And have that direct conversation. And I've spoken to a lot of people who have who've been in that position before, who have, and we just did a video that really interesting, and that just went out for World Suicide Prevention Day, and it was a whole bunch of guys who'd written their notes.
Yeah, fantastic video. You want to explain the video? The video is unbelievable. You guys have to watch it. We should.
We went around the world, and we spoke to a lot of mental health experts, because what we didn't want to do is put a disruptive piece out in that topic and have the adverse effect. We wanted to actually create change, and we went and started asking the question. It took 12 months, and we actually put it out to our community, which is a huge community, and just sort of went, look, this is what we're looking for. And the brief was, if you had thought about taking your own life, would you like to be a part of a project we're going to put together? And they went out and asked, the first 7 people they asked all said yes. And we filmed these guys who actually have read out loud their note to their mum, their dad, their family, the people within their lives. And then the clips, very short clips, it's 1:30, then talks around take action by talking. And it's the talk. That's all it was. They just needed to have someone to talk to not do it, and to go through that process, and to make them feel like someone was there that cared. And it's a really powerful clip, and it's just, for me, every time I see it, you get really emotional.
It's chilling. I've seen it a couple times. It's amazing. You guys should check it out. It literally people reading their own suicide notes after not taking their lives, and beautifully written, unbelievable. Where can people check that out?
On our site, Movember.com, or YouTube. If you just Men Don't Talk, Men Don't Act, or Movember, you'll find it. Okay. Our friends at Facebook did a really good job and put it out to the entire community last week. So
that's awesome.
You guys did a really good job at putting it out for us as well, which is awesome. But for us, it's to create that conversation. Yep. If I can create that conversation in guys, to actually just have it. If I can get guys to understand their historical data,
Yep.
if your granddad or your dad's got prostate cancer, you're 2.5 times likely to get checked. If it's heart disease, if it's all the stuff that's been spoken about in the last couple of days, if I can get people to mind, body, green,
yes,
seriously, if I can get men to do that,
yep.
We'll change the world, because they just need to walk for 30 minutes a day. That's it. Yep. 30 minutes walk. They need to understand diet. And then they need to understand the historical data, and we will close that gap. 6 years, men dying less than women. That will change the world. That changes economies. That changes everything,
Right.
And it's not that magic pill. It's not coming. It's that early detection, and it's to take control of your own life, take control of your own numbers, and stand up, be the man you're supposed to be, because it's not your life you're just affecting. It's everyone around you. It's your entire friend set. It's your family. It's everyone. So for me, if I give anyone advice, men in your life, make them go and do this.
We have time for a question or two. Everyone online? Questions? Oh, Heather? So the question came from Heather at Project Lyme, noticing that a lot of men, a lot of people who've committed suicide from Lyme disease are overwhelmingly men, and if there's something we can do to get men to talk. And men are resistant to actually acknowledging they have Lyme disease. So how do we get men to talk?
It's we do it. I mean, we do it because we're Aussie blokes. So, and we've sort of come across as this, people don't look at us when you even hit the streets these days and say, you're a foundation. Like, you're actually the world's largest men's health organization. Because we always come at everything, no bullshit. Like, just put it out there, have that conversation. And what we try and empower our people to do, and our men to do, and everywhere we spend our $800 million around the world, it's no bullshit. We want to solve this. This is how we want to solve it. The reason how you can solve it is checking with your mate. Don't be afraid. I mean, everyone's going through it, and that's the biggest thing. Once people start to talk about it, and we get guys talking about it, it just becomes with their friend set, once they get it and they know who they can talk to, it's empowering for them, and then they want to go and tell other people and change it. But we do it, as Sarah said before, you know, we're never going to tell. If you tell a man he has to go and get fit or healthy, he's not going to do it. Oh, don't tell me what to do. Like, but so we kind of come at it at an approach of, you know, we go and hang out where they are. We go and our catalyst at Movember is fun. It has to be fun. The stuff we do is fun. The stuff we project is fun. They're very serious diseases. And obviously suicide's a very serious thing. So how do we do that in a way where we can still instill a bit of fun? The moustache was fun, you know, and the stuff we're doing now with Move and Host and all those different things is we gather men together and then we get them to have and force that conversation on them. So that's kind of how we approach it with guys and how we approach it globally with men, and it seems to work and it seems to break it down. As foundations, you know, just be true to who you are. You know, our success has all come through what we say no to. What we say no to defines us, and it's defined us as a brand and who we are. And stay true to who we are, and stay true to why we did this and why it exists, and stay on that path.
Thank you. Amen. We're out of time here. Thank you, JC and Sarah, so much. For everyone watching at home, we're going to be back live at the Geodome in a couple hours. For everyone here, we're going to take it on up to happy hour with these two lovely people with gluten-free beer. Who doesn't like gluten-free beer? Come on. Everyone does.
There's nothing not to like.
Yes. So we're taking it on up the hill. Thank you.